It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the last day of May 31st, 2023. Coming to you from Central Virginia, Bedford County, right near Lynchburg. We do have a couple stories this morning. Not a real busy day, but a couple of fairly important stories. One, a company was fined for illegal dumping of cruise ship waste. That's kind of a negative one, but then on the positive side, MSC and Nature Metrics. We got some new problems with overcrowded cruises. We've talked about that several times before. And Holland American announces some longer voyages that some of you may be interested in. Just saying that and a lot more here, live at 11 o'clock this morning. All right, today is a very important day in the history of the show. Today is National Flip-Flop Day. So even if you're home and not on a trip someplace, or at the beach or out at the pool, just put your flip-flops on and wear them around the house a little bit and think about where you want to be. National Flip-Flop Day. Sorry, that's not edible. If you're listening by the podcast, welcome aboard. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net. Or, of course, wherever you get your podcast from. All the big guys have you just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the fat travel guy. Anytime you're listening to the podcast, if you ever want to jump over to the video feed, there's always a link in the description, which will allow you to do just that. Before we get to the news this morning, yesterday was International Hug Your Cat Day. And I promised that I would go hug the cats. Well, this is proof that I did hug the cats. That is Cottonelle. And Amanda, my niece, has Sherman. That's Sherman. He got hugged too. And by the way, the tattoo on Amanda's arm there, that's a Tina Turtle that's on the painting behind me there. So Sherman and Cottonelle each got their hugs yesterday on International Hug Your Cat Day. All right, so Rochelle was in Luxor. She took a horse and buggy tour of downtown Luxor. That's Michelle there in the buggy. And the horse, of course, is saying, "Oh, I can't do this again." But anyway, they rode around. Of course, Rochelle is always interested in churches. That was actually a Catholic church there in Luxor. Just some various scenes from the downtown market. These two ladies were selling shoes. A little different from our shoe stores here in the States. Another of the churches that she could see from the horse and buggy tour. That's a rug guy, makes rugs. And just one of the downtown scenes. And that's in Luxor, of course, in Egypt. And then into the fruit and vegetable market. And then, and forgive me if the order is wrong on these folks, they went to Banana Island on one of their excursions on a little boat. Went over to Banana Island and did a tour of Banana Island. This is just grabbing some odd pictures from there, and that's the whole group of them that went to Banana Island. So, of course, I appreciate Rochelle and her sending stuff in every day. This is my buddy Pete. He's in Qatar. He and Allison hosted a cruise, and that was the scenery is just, to me, is phenomenal. That's almost like being up on top of Mount Roberts. I'm not sure how Pete got up there. Maybe one of these times I'll have to ask him how he got up there, if he climbed it, rode a cable car, or got on a bus tour that took him up there to the top. Okay, folks, this is our friend Amy. She and her sister are in Iceland, and Amy had to have emergency surgery in Iceland. And this was posted by Cynthia. She said the food in Iceland has been just unbelievably good. Even the food in the hospital was good. So she was quite happy about that. And of course, we hope Cynthia, Amy gets back to totally good health again real soon. And finally this morning, no, not finally, but close to it, my friend Sylvia Lawnmeyer, she was in Boston over the weekend. She's at a Boston Red Sox game with a gentleman by the name of Alex House. She also went out to Provincetown. Some of the coldest water in the world is up there, folks. I can attest to that. Used to go up there every summer. And this was down in the Boston Commons for the, of course, Memorial Day celebration. So Sylvia is the ambassador for Will Power Chairs and also Scoot Around, as I am for Scoot Around. And this is from an advertisement from a no-name bar down there in Cozumel that Elizabeth hangs out in. I've been to several times. The top picture is no-name bar telling me I have to work in 2 hours. The bottom picture is me ordering another tequila. So, the ad from no-name bar. All right, the top story this morning, folks. Now, I want you to take a good look at this picture because you'll see why when I get into the story. This, of course, is a truck getting waste off a ship. In recent years, cruise lines have made impressive strides toward becoming more environmentally conscious. Commitment to the environment has been demonstrated through recycling and garbage separation, which are commonplace on all cruise ships. The introduction of LNG-powered and hybrid-powered vessels and hull coatings to minimize noise pollution to protect marine life have also become standard features. However, these efforts might be in vain if waste disposal from cruise ships isn't handled with the same level of responsibility off the ships as it is on board. This became apparent at Cozumel earlier in the month. As reported by Riviera Maya, the Cozumel company Ecomar, and there's a Mexican name for it, but the short American version is Ecomar, was fined for illegally dumping waste, including recyclable materials from cruise ships in a local landfill. The company was flagged for its violations from May 16th, and after a thorough investigation, Ecomar's representative, Eduardo Garcia, was issued a fine on the 22nd of May. Germain Yanez Mendoza, the director of the Department of Ecologia, led the investigation, which traced Ecomar's route from the cruise ship loading dock to the sanitary landfill and finally to a vacant lot on the island. The investigation could not conclusively identify the cruise ship from which the waste originated. But if you notice on that fritz, that's clearly a celebrity ship, folks. I don't know which one was in port that day, but it would be a reasonably simple thing to figure out. And I'm not doing this to blame celebrity, don't get me wrong, because other ships use the same company, but they need to handle things correctly on their end. The company was given a week to present the necessary permits to waste removal services. After failing to do so, Ecomar was fined and prohibited from using Cozumel's facilities for cruise ship waste disposal. It's important to stress that cruise companies are not to blame for this instance of illegal dumping, as waste management companies must dispose of waste correctly. But what the cruise ships need to do is make sure that the vendors they're using are doing it properly and with the proper documentation and the proper permits, just like happened here. It also seems unlikely that many cruise lines will want to use this company for its waste disposal services in the future. In the last 10 years, many cruise lines have adopted stricter regulations that cover every aspect of waste disposal. Cozumel, of course, is the busiest cruise port of call behind home ports like Miami, Port Canaveral, and Port Everglades. The island expects a staggering 1,152 cruise ships carrying 3.7 million guests in this year. Cozumel is an important port of call for many cruise lines, including Carnival, Royal Caribbean, MSC, and Norwegian. While this influx of cruise ship passenger bodes well for the economy, it also inevitably creates a significant amount of waste. So, to ensure responsible waste management, cruise lines have created procedures that align with international standards, such as International Organization of Standardization, which establishes guidelines for waste management, among other environmental aspects. So the cruise lines just have to tighten it up a little bit when it comes to the issue of waste management. Make sure their vendors are doing things right. Okay, guys, today's the last day for the 10% Memorial Day sale. You can save 10% on everything from scoot-around and wheel power chairs, including the new Platinum 8000 folding power chair. It's very similar to the chair that I purchased. It folds in 3 seconds. It weighs 58 pounds without the batteries. Remote control capability, large storage compartments. It'll have a capacity of 396 pounds. That's much greater than mine. Its top speed is 3.75. Mine's the same. It has a 15-mile driving range, same as mine. The big deal on this one, it's regularly priced at $1,899. Your price through midnight tonight, $1,099. Buy it now. Call 844-664-7467. This is the last day of the sale. You can use SRN 11137 when you call these folks. That will help out the channel a bit. All right, the follow-up partner story to the first one, which is kind of revolting. MSC Cruises and the MSC Foundation announced a partnership with NatureMetrics to collect comprehensive biodiversity data for marine species, according to a press release yesterday. The project, titled eBioAtlas, Biodiversity Sampling from Cruise Liners Using eDNA, uses innovative DNA sampling to collect eDNA from seawater while on board. The data is then sent to the NatureMetrics team, who will analyze marine wildlife present across the MSC cruise routes. Daniela Pico, executive director of the MSC Foundation, said, "The MSC Foundation is committed to advancing ocean conservation through science. It's therefore only natural for us to join forces with NatureMetrics to support biodiversity mapping, assisting the International Union for Conservation of Nature to perform the assessments that are critical indicators of global biodiversity health. The eBioAtlas program will acquire biodiversity data from 3 MSC itineraries. Seawater samples will be collected using specially designed EDA collection kits. The first ship to participate in the program will be the brand new ship, set to begin data collection in the Nordic region. After this, samples will be collected on board the Poesia in Iceland and Greenland, and then the Preciosa in Iceland, Norway, and Svalbard. So that is certainly is a good thing coming up from MSC and their help with this program. And by the way, the original ship, folks, was the MSC Aoribia. I was trying to remember my pronunciation guides from Dennis. Anyway, those are the 3 ships that are going to be taking part in this for MSC and the folks doing the data. And boy, the more I've read about this, the more fascinated I've become. Of course, MSC's done a marvelous job with their private island that was totally reclaimed. But some of the things this DNA sampling it has to deal with fish, with plant life, with water samples, with microorganisms. It's pretty fascinating stuff. All right, I'll be back with a couple more stories after a quick word from one of our network sponsors. The next story, folks, we all got spoiled while the cruise ships were sailing at 20% and 30%. Well, they're not doing that anymore. They are now overcrowded, considerably overcrowded. Let's see, where did the story go? Oh, there it is. A surge in demand for cruise vacations has resulted in an unusual phenomenon: occupancy rates on cruise ships that regularly surpass 100%. Notably, Royal Caribbean has an impressive, if you want to call it that, 102.1 occupancy rate, closely followed by Norwegian with 101.5, and Carnival falls way back at 91%. The occupancy rate over 100% can be explained by how they are calculated. A cruise cabin is typically designated to accommodate 2, making this the base for calculating double occupancy. When a 3rd or 4th guest is added to the cabin, the occupancy rate naturally exceeds 100%. This becomes pretty normal during the school holidays when families come on board with kids. It's knocked down, however, by solo cruises. So if solo cruisers, it depends on which one outnumbers the other. While this ensures a full ship, maximizing revenues for cruise lines, it can also lead to cruise dissatisfaction. When pools are crowded, dining areas are overcrowded, bars and theaters are just, you have to stand in line and wait. The comfort and enjoyment of guests will always be compromised. Overcrowding is a concern during cruises today. This issue extends to more than just the pool or dining areas, with large cruise ship typically accommodating 3,000 to 5,000 guests. Nearly all spaces on board can notably be congested, causing discomfort among passengers. However, the trend is not new in any way. Prior to the global pause in operations, Royal Caribbean typically reported occupancy of 107 to 108%. What is new is that the cruise ship have sailed with and guests have gotten used to far fewer numbers over the past 2 years. Similarly, the pent-up demand that has been lying and lingering is now truly in force, and everybody is busy. So good for the industry, not necessarily the best for those of us that cruise a lot. And finally, this morning, I normally don't talk about specific offerings from cruise lines, but these kind of interest me personally. So I thought I'd mention them today in case some of you might be interested as well. The treasures of Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific are the focus of several lengthy cruises unveiled yesterday by Holland America. The sailings are part of the line's legendary voyages cruise category that was introduced earlier this year. The cruises combine the comprehensive onboard program that the line's grand voyages are known for, coupled with an extensive array of port calls and numerous overnight stays. The 2,000-guest Westerdam will operate a 35-day Australia circumnavigation cruise departing November 17, 2024. Round trip from Sydney with 16 ports in Australia and other scenic cruising in the Great Barrier Reef, the Ribbon Reef, and far north regions. Overnight calls are set for Fremantle, that's Perth, Hobart, Tasmania, along with late night departures from Adelaide beyond Australia. The ship will call on Komodo Island. Following the circumnavigation, Westerdam will remain in Australia and operate 14-day cruises from January through March of 2025. Her 14-day Australia and New Zealand itinerary will sail nonstop from Sydney and between Sydney and Auckland, New Zealand, visiting 6 ports and Fiordland National Park. Westerdam will wrap up her season down under with a 29-day South Pacific crossing departing March 30th, 2025 from Sydney to Vancouver, featuring a dozen port of calls in Hawaii, American Samoa, Fiji, and New Caledonia. Both the 1,400-guest Zaandam and the 2,600-guest Koningsdam will sail legendary voyages South Pacific itineraries, offering explorations of such exotic destinations as Fiji, Samoa, the Cook and Society Islands, Tahiti, and Hawaii. Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific are iconically beautiful locations, but they have so much more to offer, which is why they remain high on the bucket list for travelers who are looking to see the world with the ease of a cruise. The Australia circumnavigation itinerary is the most in-depth immersion a cruiser can have in the continent of Australia, and many of our legendary voyages make it possible to visit distant destinations from the North American home port. These cruises are among some of the most notable that Holland America offers, so said Commercial Officer Beth Bodensteiner. Zandam's Tale of the Pacific is a 51-day itinerary round trip from San Diego, departing September 30th, 2024, and an option to extend the cruise to 56 days is available for cruisers who wish to embark the ship in Vancouver on September 25th and sail the first leg of the trip to San Diego. The cruise features 20 ports of call in Hawaii, Kiribati, Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, Anu, Cook and Society Islands, Marquesas, and Tahiti. Overnights are scheduled for Honolulu and Papeete, along with late-night departures from Honolulu and Suva, Fiji. Koningsdam's Legendary Voyages cruise a 35-day Hawaii, Tahiti, and Marquesas sailing, departing February 15th, and will operate round trip from San Diego also. The itinerary features 4 calls in Hawaii, 6 island calls across the South Pacific. Port overnights are planned for Honolulu, Raiatea, Moorea, and Papeete. Holland America, celebrating its 150th year of operations in 2023, said its Legendary Voyages cruise category was inspired in part by guests' interests in longer cruises. The line noted that many sailings in the new category are departing from U.S. ports and in some cases operating round trip from U.S. ports. In a time-limited promotion, cruisers who booked select 2024 and 2025 Australian New Zealand cruises will have it all premium package also will receive a signature beverage package, the surf Wi-Fi package, and free prepaid crew appreciation tips. That's pretty sweet. So, some of you may be interested in all of that. That, folks is going to put an end to the news portion of today's show. We'll hop over in the chat room. Hot Air Tom is with us. Hot Air Tom had a horrible time getting his check-in for his flight today. I was thinking he left yesterday. He leaves this afternoon, folks. I was wrong. I'm expecting Hot Air to be in Heathrow this morning. And he's not. He's at his office in Richmond. I wonder if Carnival Sunshine had any waste wash overboard. I'm sure they did. Yo, Brooklyn in the house. Hey, Eddie. Good morning, Steve. Emily's with us. Hey, Emily, there's Dennis. Good morning, Dennis. I hope I got the ship correct, or at least close. Emily says, no flip-flops for me. Don't care for them. Oh, man, I got to have my flip-flops around the pool and when I get into the hot tubs and the like. Yeah, I do wear flip-flops quite a bit. Joanne's with us, says, good Wednesday morning. Good morning to you also, Joanne. Mike's here. Good morning, Mike. Chillie got the cats during COVID, if I'm not mistaken. They have grown. Yeah, Amanda rescued them the second week of COVID back in March of 2020. It's when they came to rule the house. And they are pain in the, well, never mind. It seems the aging boomers becoming pensioners are increasing the market demand for longer cruise lengths. Well, I like sailing longer. I didn't know that I would until I tried it. And I like doing, the longest I've done 17. And I like that. My next thing is to try, a 30, 40, 50 dayer. If I can come up with the money for it. So, Nikki's with us. Hi, Nikki. Here in Florida, every day is flip-flop day. Yeah, I understand that. Long-term use of flip-flop cause feet problems such as plantar fasciitis, and heel spurs are always looked for. Ones that offer good arch support. Well, that's one thing. As fat as I am, I have to have some arch support down there because they're carrying a load of weight. Cindy's with us. Hi, Cindy. That may be from the P-Town Library. I spent a lot of time there with my family. Also learned to sail there. No car needed. One of my favorite stories, my mother took me out the first time I was in Provincetown. I want to say I was like 10 years old. And I was sitting in the front seat of the car, just my mother and I. And she was driving, excuse me, through downtown Provincetown. And it was extremely crowded. It was probably a Saturday or Sunday with all the artists out working and people walking in the middle of the streets. And somebody was walking along. And my mother got tired of waiting for him to get out of the way and just beeped her horn. And the guy jumped about 10 feet in the air, and he turned around and pointed his finger at my mother and says, "You damn fool." I always thought that was great. Some poor guy calling my mother a damn fool. Anyway, that was in Provincetown. I used to go swimming. Dennis, if you're familiar with it, oh man, what was the name of that beach out there on, man, it was just south of Provincetown. Oh, that water was so cold. Oh man, I can't think of the beach now. But anyway, it was, 20, 30 miles south of Provincetown there on the kind of, there's a north-south, almost straight north and south a beach area. I'm too old now. My old age brain is kicking in. But man, that water was cold. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love New England. I love Massachusetts. I love being out on the Cape. I got a whole bunch of stories about Cape Cod. So pleased they were caught. Yeah, I am too. I mean, and the thing, when we know it's a celebrity ship, I would think all of the cruise lines, they just need to make sure that the cruises, the vendors that get these contracts are doing it correctly in the various facilities. So, that's not right for them to dump in Cozumel if it's not the right place that Cozumel wants them to dump that kind of waste. So anyway, they've probably been doing it for some time. I'm sure they have. And I'm sure they've done it for multiple cruise lines, multiple ships, that have the same company. So anyway, there should be criminal prosecution rather than a fine. Totally agree with that. The new ship has a funky paint job, Hot Air says. Camouflage, Tom, laugh out loud. I agree. Euribia. Roll the R. Euribia. I'll get there. Uh-oh. Preziosa. Oh, yeah, you got that stupid, excuse me, that TZ thing. Preziosa. Roll the R. Preziosa. And remember the Z is TZ. Yeah. Like in pizza. Pronounce the S like a Z in lasagna. Wow. It's hard for an old fart like me to remember all these rules and stuff, Dennis. The U in Italian is pronounced the long U, like in tune or cartoon. Euribia. A like day. Euribia. Euribia. Right. The ships may be full, but for booking last minute Sunday night, 7-night MSC Meraviglia cruise from Florida to the Bahamas had a solo inside starting at $419. Wow, that's a nice price. Katie's with us. Hi, Katie. $60 per night on the Meraviglia. And boy, what a nice ship that is. Lori B's here. Hi, Lori. Glad you're with us. Emily says 21 days until she heads for the Philippines. Commercial Street is their high street. Yes, it is. That's correct. Race Point or Harrington. No, that wasn't it. It was on down further south then. I want to think it started with an M. Manhasset Beach. Something like that, Dennis. Truro. The only Truro I remember is up in Nova Scotia. I don't remember Truro Beach. I could be wrong about that one. Katie says she's almost done cleaning her room and about to be finished for the year. Good job, Katie, getting ready to go up there on Martha's Vineyard. My grandfather was at a university in Boston and started going there in the 1930s and 40s while he was stranded in the U.S. during World War II. The S is a Z in Pisa. A is in day. Euribia. Euribia. Mom. I don't know what Tom's doing there. That was from New York City for the Meraviglia. Sailed out of Brooklyn. Yes, indeed. That's where she's homeported now. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. I've got a 12 o'clock Zoom call with the folks over at Viva Voyages, hopefully to get something from Norwegian on this cruise. Norwegian just is putting everybody off and off and off, and this is getting aggravating for a lot of us. So I've got a Zoom call coming up at noon. I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow will also be a Cruise Amigos. So everybody plan on joining me again tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Thank you all for being here. You know how much I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, for now, oh, by the way, thumbs up. We appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe. We also appreciate that. The bell notification tells me when I go live or when a new video is up. So, as always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a phenomenal day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.